Today we're going to talk about the application problems that we can use using trigonometry. We're using some new vocabulary, the angle of elevation and the angle of depression. The angle of elevation is when you're looking up at something versus the angle of depression, which is when we are looking down at something from the horizontal. So up from the horizontal is angle of elevation, down from the horizontal is angle of depression. All right, so the angles of elevation and depression. The angle of depression, the angle that a person's line of sight makes with the horizontal when looking at an object that is lower than the person. So if the line of sight is straight out, looking down, that would be our angle of depression. The angle of elevation is the angle that a person's line of sight makes with the horizontal when looking at an angle that is higher than the person. So their line of sight, and they look up at an object that is above them. So looking up. From the horizontal going up is the angle of elevation. From the horizontal going down is the angle of depression. So notice we have horizontal lines here that are parallel, and this looks like a transversal. So these would be alternate interior angles. Okay, so the angle of depression equals the angle of elevation. So if we talk about the angle of depression, we can just use that angle down here in this part if we wanted to make our right triangle like this, or if we're actually talking about the angle of elevation and we wanted a right triangle like this, then we could just switch that. These are the same size. So let's look at an example problem. All right, so a person on a zip line travels a horizontal distance of 109 meters on a 120-meter zip line. What is the angle of depression of the zip line? So I like to start off by drawing a picture of this. So a person on a zip line travels a horizontal distance of 109 meters. So they're going this far, and they're going to zip down a line, okay? And the zip line is actually 120 meters long. So we want to figure out what is this angle of depression. So that's from the horizontal going down. So we actually have a little right triangle here, and we are looking for this angle. We'll call it X. So we have trigonometry. We're going to think about our SOHCAHTOA. And so here, this side right here is the adjacent side, adjacent leg, and this is our hypotenuse. So when we use adjacent and hypotenuse in a trig function, we're going to use cosine. The cosine of our angle is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. All right, so let's do the math and plug in the numbers. We have the cosine of x is equal to 109 divided by 120. And when we do the inverse of both sides, our angle is going to equal the inverse cosine, or the arc cosine of 109 over 120. Okay, so we'll go to our calculator, and when we plug that in, we're going to get that our angle is equal to approximately 24.7 degrees. So let's look at the next example. From the top of a 575-foot bluff, A rescue scout looks down upon a hot air balloon accident. The angle of depression is 7 degrees. Draw a sketch and find how far the accident is from the rescue team at the base of the bluff. Okay, so we have a person on a bluff. Okay, and they're looking down at a hot air balloon accident. And that angle of depression is outside here. This is from the horizontal looking down. So that's 7 degrees. The rescue team, I'll just draw a little red cross, is here, and here's our accident of the balloon. Okay? We want to find out how far the accident is from the rescue team. Okay, so remember that our angle of depression is equal to the angle of elevation. So in my right triangle, I can put a 7 degrees right here. And now I can figure out what my trigonometric function is. We also know that the top of our 575-foot bluff, so this is 575 feet. All right, so that is opposite of our angle. All right, so this is opposite of our angle, and the one we're looking for is adjacent to our angle. All right, so when we have opposite and adjacent, we use tangent. So we have our trig function is the tangent of 7 degrees is equal to the opposite, 575, over the adjacent, which is our x. All right, so here I'm going to solve for x. So I cross multiply and I get x equals 575 divided by the tangent of 7 degrees. And so we will find out how far our rescue team is. So I'm going to go to the calculator and plug this in, and I get 4,682.999. And that's in feet. So we've figured out how far our rescue team is. And next thing we want to do is check to see if that is a reasonable answer. So if we think about our small little 7-degree angle, and so opposite it is a small number. So if 575 is a small number, then 4,682 is a reasonable answer. So we'll round that to 4,683 feet that the rescue team is from the accident.